Welcome to another episode of the Speak Like the Boss podcast. I'm Anthony. This is Chase. What's new this week?
Not really anything, man. It's just it's been kind of rough, but without getting into details, it's whatever. We're here.
We're alive and well.
We are still going.
Still going strong. Today's episode is a little bit different compared to what we've been doing. This one is going to be more specific for the ladies. We got some hate this week.
Which keep bringing it.
Our first,
love it. Bring it.
First online haters, which is fantastic. It means we're doing something right if we're getting enough of an emotional response from people that we don't even know.
Well, from women, but yes, bring it. I mean, please,
whoever, So
there is no bad exposure.
What I wanted to do with this episode, after we got into all those things, is talk about from a different perspective, maybe what women should do versus what they shouldn't do.
Yeah, I like it.
So that way we can tell them the right advice versus just berating them with negatives.
Yes, that's fine. Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay.
Whether they listen or not,
Yeah, well, if there are men obviously listening to this too, then maybe just pass the information along or use this as, talking points for you with your lady. If you're in already a relationship, you can say, okay, hey, they got a good point.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would like it if my girl did this more.
Or you shouldn't be
and
doing
use this as a reference. I heard something this week that was very funny. I was watching Myron, and he said another guest that he had on had told him that he's the guy that helps all the other guys that watch him get laid.
Yeah, I heard that.
He's the hated guy. So then they could put him on and be like, the girls will be like, oh my God, he's so terrible. How does he talk like that to them? And be like, I know, baby, but really what he's just trying to say is, just like this. And I wouldn't say it like that, but
he lays it down hard and he makes the conversation easier because you can approach it in
that's right.
I don't want to say nicer way, but
right. He's the asshole, so you don't have to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it is. So we'll hopefully do something similar. Use this episode as that talking point. I'm going to try, like I said, be as positive as possible for everybody here. If that doesn't work out, then I'm sorry in advance, but it is what it is. This is how we feel, and this is what society has caused us to decide.
I believe that, and we will see, but I believe that what I have to talk about is more so on the positive side. So we'll see if we generate more haters, which I'm all for. Bring it. Let's do it.
We'll see. We'll get some men hate this week. All right. So the first topic is suggestions on letting a man down easy. So I came up with this idea because I know that a lot of times, like we've talked about in the past, is discouraging to men when they're constantly being rejected, right? Whether that be in person, online, through text messages, getting ghosted, whatever it is. So these are suggestions just for the ladies, to how to make it a little bit lighter on some of the guys. You're putting the pressure on them to begin with to come up and approach you, right? To do the initiating. There's a lot of times where you're not going to DM a guy first or anything like that.
No.
So with that being said, if you're putting the pressure on the men, these are just suggestions to make it easier to filter through the ones that you don't want. So I have 3 points that I would get to, but I'm going to want to hear yours. I'm curious to what you got.
Yeah, I mean, I've only got about 3 as well. Okay. I just thought of something actually too.
Go with that first.
Because we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Other men are watching dudes approach you and they see how you get shot down, right?
Yes.
So if they're like, oh, that chick's hot. Oh, there's a dude shooting a shot. Let's see what happens. And you look like a raging C-word. That might make dudes be like, I ain't approaching her. I'm not going up to her.
That kind of goes into one of my points.
So
yeah,
in general, I mean, it's super easy. Ladies, be kind. Don't look disgusted. Don't insult them. Don't laugh. Keep in mind that it takes balls to approach strangers, especially women that you don't know.
Right.
And do it with the confidence and the charisma that would make them interested in that guy.
Sure. Yeah. Which goes into, we're kind of doubling up here, but I got a little bit more descriptive for each point. So first one being honest about not being your type.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if a gentleman, no matter where it is, it's just not your type, or you started the conversation, you're on a dating app, and then the conversation goes weird, or somebody approaches you that you just don't find attractive, whatever that situation is, I feel like being honest and saying, hey, you're just really not my type is probably the best way, because as a man, we understand that. We understand that not everybody is everybody's type. If you give us some other kind of crazy excuse or just ghost us or do all these other things, it's a lot more detrimental to our mental health going forward, or our encouragement to continue trying with different women. Just because you're not the one doesn't mean that, you should discourage them in a way that they can't find somebody at some point.
Real quick,
yeah.
I find it interesting that you specifically said you're not my type, because it happened this past weekend a few times to me. It's like, all right, whatever,
Yeah.
like it doesn't really feel like rejection. So at least for me, it didn't.
That's good.
From that standpoint, yeah, I think that's a good way to
Right.
put it.
Right. Just not your type. That's fine. Which goes into my second one, which is to not lie about having a boyfriend or not being ready for a relationship. I hate those two answers for multiple reasons. So let's do the not being ready for a relationship first. First off, if this is online and you're in a dating app or something, you're already lying to me if you're not ready for a relationship, because why are you here?
That, or you're a big honking 304.
Right. It doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
So that's already a not good answer, because realistically, if the right guy came around, you'd probably be ready for a relationship.
Yeah, they would break all their rules.
Of course, right. So don't use that as an answer. The other one about having a boyfriend, I don't like that for two reasons. One being, let's say you don't have a boyfriend and you're just lying. That goes back to what I was saying earlier about lying about why you're rejecting somebody. You're lying saying that you have a boyfriend just so you can get out of talking to an individual. Just express to them that they're not your type.
Yeah.
The other side of it is, if you really do have a boyfriend at home and you're telling them, hey, I have a boyfriend, then now, as a man, if that boyfriend is not here, I'm going to think that guy is a puss. I'm going to think lower of him. So you just degraded your boyfriend in public. And then also, certain guys who are very adamant about what they're doing are going to continue to pursue you and ask you that exact same question. Well, where is he? I don't see him. So avoid that altogether, because that's not going to help the men, and it's not going to help you in certain situations. So I think, again, going back to the first point, just tell them that they're not your type. You're not interested in any sort of romantic relationship with them, and they will pretty much move on, because a guy is not going to sit there and entertain you for the night or try to buy you drinks if you're not interested. That way you separate and everybody's happy.
I was actually watching Fresh and Fit this week.
Yeah.
I doubt they would see this, but Myron, if you see this, you're the GOAT. No, but I was watching, and it really made me think, because he said women don't understand or appreciate the effort and the thought process that goes into just getting to the point that you will approach a woman. And
we learned that from our haters this week.
Yeah. So we are constantly thinking about that stuff. Like you said, okay, you're not here with your boyfriend. There's a problem. Why you dress like that?
Correct.
This is my ticket in.
These are all the red flags that you're portraying yourself, even though you don't pay attention to them.
Yes.
Yeah. Going into that a little bit, just to delve deeper, is one of the comments was that we were an Andrew Tate knockoff. Paraphrasing that a little bit, right? So I did respond online, but I was thinking about it a little bit further. And I don't think that you can be a knockoff of something if you have a similar thought process. You're not a knockoff. You are just somebody like-minded. So people need to be more appreciative. I'm not going to come out here and tell you ladies that you suck, this, that, the other thing, and just call you profanities or tell you that you only have a specific role, and that's to be in the kitchen, and be very misogynistic about it, quote unquote, right? But I am going to tell you where you're doing wrong, where you can do better, and also what you're doing right. And that was the purpose of this episode, is let's talk about the things that you are doing correctly. So if you are the girl, talking about the segment we're currently on, that's turning people down the proper way, being honest, being nice, holding maybe a 1 to 2 minute conversation with a gentleman when he approaches you, and then coming to the conclusion that, hey, you're not my type, after you feel the personality out, that's perfectly respectable. 100% of the time, do that every time. But if you're not, and you're the person who is ghosting people or leading people on to a certain point or using them for a drink and then discarding that person and their attention, you're the problem. You're the reason this podcast exists. You're the reason Andrew Tate exists. You're the reason that this whole red pill culture exists. So a lot of this episode is self-reflection. It's going to be, are you the girl we're talking about or are you not? Are you better than what we're talking about? Because they are out there. And I hope that every woman that watches this is the better one, by all means, because you're the one we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
If you are that girl, great. You're the one we want to put a ring on your finger.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not and you fall into some of these categories, then let's take that as an opportunity to grow. Let's say, oh, these are the things that I can fix. And they just blatantly told me what they were.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving you the cheat codes.
Yes.
Use them.
Yes.
If I give you infinite lives in Mario Brothers and you decide to not use it, that's on you.
That's your fault. Yeah.
You're going to fall in the hole 16 times and die.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Another way to kind of express what you're trying to convey, I think, is if you take personal offense to anything that we are saying, step back, evaluate yourself. Is there truth in it? If there's truth in it, maybe you need to change something.
That's right.
If you can't accept personal responsibility in either what we're talking about or just in life in general, then how are you going to get what you want out of it? People are just going to look at you, especially for women. Dudes are going to smile and wave, get what they want out of you, and then move right along. And you're just going to be SOL thinking that all men are the same when they're really not. They're just, you may not be what they're looking for.
That's right. The same way you can tell them that they're not your type, you might not be what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's perfectly acceptable. Unfortunately, we're so different as a gender that we have to assess that differently. You can tell right away that you can disqualify a man as a woman. Mm-hmm. You can say he's not tall enough, he's not this, he's not that. He doesn't look like he comes from money. He's not XYZ, whatever it is. For men, if you look somewhat attractive, we immediately put you in the possibility category. You know, it could be either sex or whatever, but we're not going to know until we find out how you act, what's your behavior patterns, and maybe even how, how the first couple dates go.
It's more complicated than that, even, or it goes further than that. Even Myron talked about that this week too, and I was like, that's really good. The way that men and women reject each other is different. Women openly reject men. Men, if you're on the hook, a man can silently reject you, and you won't know until he's gotten what he wants out of you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the last point that I have, which kind of ties it all together, is, which I've seen, is not having petty gossip with your friends afterwards.
Yes.
So if a guy approaches you, you shoot him down whichever way you chose to do so, and then he walks away and he immediately hears the snickers and the laughter behind his back, or, pointing or something later on, that's going to destroy his ego for trying to approach anybody else. And again, this is not about attacking specific people, but if you have done this and you haven't felt bad about it at all, it's you're the problem again. And I don't want to say that for a lot of women. I hope that a lot of women that watch us are going to be respectful young ladies that don't act like that. And go back to one of the comments we've received this week was something along the lines of, if we are what the standard for what men listen to, then we're in trouble in dating in 2025 or something along.
No wonder dating is as bad as it is. It's like,
right.
Understand that everything we do, the way we think, the way we move, is a direct response to
how we've been treated,
and how women act and move, because we have to navigate that.
Yes.
Is it more often women approaching men or men approaching women?
Which it's funny that you mentioned that, because a lot of the feedback that we have been getting from both sides, right, is times are changing, right? And that's one of the biggest arguments that I get. Oh, you expect the woman to still be traditional or do this, do that for you, and not treat you a certain type of way, and not be promiscuous, and not have bodies, and blah, blah, all these other things, right? Times are changing. And just as you can point the finger and say, hey, times are changing, you need to accept it, this is how women are, great. Times are changing for men too. Mm-hmm. We're going to change how we treat you. We're not going to do all the things that we used to do. We're not going to openly pay for the first dates. We're not going to hold the car door open for you. That was the one that triggered everybody.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do
Chivalry
it.
is
I'm not
dead.
going to do it. And to go back to my original point, I will do it for the woman who deserves it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I am a very romantic person when the right person deserves it. If that
Mhm.
girl comes into my life, then great. You know what I mean? Then I'm going to do all the things, hold the door open, get her the roses, make special moments, treat her right, make sure that she feels like the queen of this household. But if you're not, and you think that you're going to get that treatment just from showing up and having a first date, you're not. You're not. I have to find out who you are first as a person so that I can open myself up to you. So
I agree with all of that. And to speak to specifically the men who were talking about how times are changing.
Yeah.
In regards to, I guess, just how people in general move. Just because society as a whole moves one way, i.e., people are more promiscuous, it doesn't mean you have to put up with it. You just have to understand that that's how it is, and you have to.
That's right.
It may become harder for you to find someone that you want to settle down with, but you don't have to change your standards if something is not. What's the word I'm looking for?
If you just don't agree. In
Yeah,
general,
well, yeah,
like if you just don't agree with the way things are happening around you, it doesn't mean you have to partake. If there's a movie that comes out and you don't like it, don't go see it.
Yeah.
If there's a TV show you don't watch it, right? If there's a group of people that you don't prefer to hang around with because they're doing bad behaviors, don't hang out with them. It goes the same way with everything in life. So if you don't like something that's happening or a trend with the way women are or men are or anything like that, then don't associate with those people.
And don't become a part of it.
The reality of this conversation and every conversation that we have on this podcast is there is a vast majority of women that have a very poor mindset when it comes to relationships right now. Whether that was caused by men or not, that's up for debate. We can talk about that at a different time because that's a very long conversation, right? And how men have treated women over the years. But with that being said, we're facing reality. That's what this is all about, is facing reality, understanding the facts, understanding how people treat each other. And if you do not fall into the category, then understand that we are not attacking you. We're talking about the majority of people. We're not talking about the minorities who are absolved from this stuff. Jumping into the next topic, which I think is a good segue. What kind of man should you look for as a woman and how should you keep him? So go ahead and give me something you got on that.
It's going to be different for all women.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I think you should find someone who fits the personality type you prefer, whether that's someone who matches your personality, someone who's a complete opposite. I have two older sisters who they married good men.
Okay.
But my sisters wear the pants in that relationship, So it's like, it's just how it is, and it works for them. So, and it,
is the man happy?
They
at least you can seem happy, right?
Yeah.
Not behind closed doors.
Yeah,
that's really what it comes down to.
I don't. If any of them end up seeing this, I don't mean this in a bad way by any means.
Sure,
but knowing their personality and knowing who they are, it's almost like they either need a woman like that or they're better off with a woman like that.
Interesting. Since you went down that rabbit hole, I feel like I might as well too. I feel like the same thing with my mom and her husband. I feel like she clearly runs the pants. And I think that he's probably miserable. Just being somebody who's at least there sometimes behind closed doors and sees everything that's happening. But I think that I don't know if he needs it or he just has decided to put up with it because his options are limited at his age because they're obviously older. Right?
Knowing all parties involved that we are speaking of, Byron, I shouldn't say his name. That's fine. God
damn it.
It's okay. We can bleep it out. He's different than my in-laws.
Okay.
He's different.
He's different. Yeah. I don't. This is what I tell you. If you think a couple is happy, you have no idea unless you see what it looks like when they lay their heads down on the pillow at night.
Yeah.
And I would never judge any couple. I have been told countless times that that's not what they do. He lets his wife go on girls' trips. Or, okay, great. Guess what? They'll probably divorce in 4 years.
It's not going to last.
Like, don't give me examples of things like that unless you absolutely know what's happening behind closed doors, because they may argue every night. He may be cheating on her. They may have mistresses. You have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. They just put things up, whether it's in person or on social media, and pretend like everything's okay. Go ahead.
To add to that, I think a lot of women have an idea of what they want in a partner.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times you see women become jaded because they get in a long-term relationship with someone who they think is what they want. And it doesn't work out and it ends poorly for whatever reason. I think you need, and not necessarily, and I don't mean this sexually, but because that's another point we'll get to, but I think it's very important for you to have experience with what you think you like or is your preference when it comes to dating.
That's what dating is for.
Before you become serious, before you get googly eyed, before you try to go all in on somebody.
Yeah, really figure out what you like, don't like, and what's like. You're never going to find somebody who checks all the boxes.
No, never.
But you will find somebody who checks most of them, and you have to understand: is this person worth dealing with the things I don't like? Are the things bad enough that I can stay, or are they too bad that I should leave? And that's every relationship. And if you really analyze it from that kind of a position, you'll know what you should do. For a girl who's, let's say, getting whooped every night by her man.
I'm not laughing because like
you probably should analyze the fact of leaving. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely. I don't know why these women stick around in abusive relationships.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I don't promote that, and I don't think anybody should. But it shouldn't even go on past one time.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, figure that out right away. Like, if this is what's going to happen and he's willing to do that, unprovoked, by the way. Unprovoked is what I'm talking about. If you're the type of chick that slugs him in the fucking mouth first.
That's why I laughed.
I hope he kicks your ass down the stairs.
I thought about that situation. That's why I laughed. For clarification.
And bring the hate comments for that one too. I'm sure I'll get them. But
if you want to be treated like a woman, act like a woman.
Like a man. I tell you what. And this is coming.
These hands get bisexual real quick.
I probably shouldn't delve into this, but this is going to be the truth moment. This is coming from a guy who is raised by a single mom that went through an abusive relationship. So I seen it as a young child from all perspectives, and I understand what women do to cause those environments. You know,
not to say your mom deserved it by any means, but continue. Yeah.
It's nobody deserves that, but you have to understand that the blame always doesn't fall on one party. I think both people are to blame for different reasons, and there's always two sides to a story. So
again, that's not just clarification. That's not saying, oh, well, what did she do to deserve it?
No,
not at all.
I mean, I know, but I'm not getting into it on here. One thing that I do research, so just for anybody who doesn't know, every time we have topics here, I do pretty thorough research on all my talking points and get perspectives from both men and women before I talk about them and come up with my own evaluation on how I think things should play out. I wanted to cite this website real quick, FrenchRelationshipExpert.com. The biggest load of garbage that I've ever seen in my entire life. The article was literally about how to keep a man, and every single point was the opposite of what you should do as a woman.
Was it, again, this might...
horrible.
It
was written by a woman.
It's going to bring hate. Okay, that was going to be my question.
Yes.
Was it written by a woman?
A lot of these relationship topics that I looked at were either written by a woman or an anonymous source titled under a business. So you can't tell if a man or a woman wrote it. Right.
I mean, let's be honest. You can tell when a man or a woman wrote it.
There's always some sort of narrative in there where they push it one way or the other. So I wanted to throw that out there, that what that made me realize, the first thing when I was researching this topic specifically, is that if you are a lady watching this podcast and you want to understand how to keep a man, maybe they keep breaking up with you, they keep leaving, they keep cheating on you, they keep doing XYZ, whatever it is, understand that asking for your advice from other women is the worst thing you can do. They don't know. A man is going to be able to tell you what a man wants. The same way I would ask a lady what she wants. It's very similar. Although I know what ladies want, because ladies don't always know what they want. With the whole different topic.
That was my thought, yeah.
Right? I know you were thinking that too. That's why I said it. But at the end of the day, if I was going to say let's just say I had a significant other and a holiday was coming up like Valentine's Day, like it is. Okay. And I say, hey, so-and-so friend of mine that's a female, what could I do for Valentine's Day to make it really special? I would accept a woman's input on that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And that's similar to what I'm kind of getting at in the same vein of ask a guy what it takes to keep the man happy. If you're trying to make your man happy and pleased, ask another dude what would make him happy.
Or at least if you're going to ask a woman who's been in a happy, committed relationship for decades.
But even that's bad. And I tell you why.
It can be bad.
It can be bad. It's still not good because then we talk about the same type of relationships we just spoke about, where they're running the pants and the family and doing everything and this and that. And it's a jacked up ass relationship to begin with.
It doesn't have to be that way, though.
It doesn't have to be. No, but I'm just saying in general, if a woman's going to give you advice.
I mean, if you phrase it differently, what do you do to keep your man happy?
I don't even have this written down, but let me talk about this. I watched a show today. It was a very short segment that I happened to scroll through on TikTok. I don't know if they were a couple. I assume that they were based on the dynamic of the podcast. It was like a podcast relationship one. It was a probably middle-aged black couple and a wife, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, if they're friends or just doing the show together or whatever. But they had a topic. Let me try to remember what it was. There was somebody, a caller or a writer or viewer of some kind that had wrote in. And it was, they just got married. They were on their honeymoon, the couple.
Okay, I've seen this. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. And
the now wife texted her ex-husband that I'm done with you. This is our final goodbye. The night of their honeymoon, or the morning of their honeymoon, I should say. And they both had very different takes on how it should be handled, the man and the woman. The woman saying that nothing was really wrong, that's no big deal, where the man went almost to the point where he was like, never talk to her again. And this was on their honeymoon. He backtracked a little bit as the segment went on, and he got some feedback from the audience and his cohort wife or whatever, her co-host, my take on that would be similar to what their end result was that it was definitely a violation of privacy.
Yes.
I think that if the wife took all the way up until the honeymoon with a new husband to finally say her final goodbye, then she waited far too long to say that final goodbye, and she should have never been married and in a new relationship.
If I'm the man in that situation, I'm seriously considering an annulment.
Yeah, I would say that's something to talk about, because she, in her mind, the wife, didn't realize what she was doing wrong. Now, what that conversation looks like, I wouldn't say it's an annulment right then and there, but it is a very serious conversation about why it was incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
And if she doubles down and continues to tell you that she's in the right, that's where the annulment conversation begins. Because you're disrespecting your new man, one. You're thinking about another man right after you got married on your honeymoon. Definitely a no-no. If I was a dude, I wouldn't. No. If I'm marrying you, I better be the only guy you're thinking about. Otherwise, why are we doing this? I'm taking such a leap of faith to put that ring on your finger, spending money, spending resources, time, effort, courting you, thinking about our future together, and then you're just going to think about another dude that you used to sleep with? No, man. That's not how this works. So, side note, that had nothing to do with what our topics were today, but it was just something that I had seen, and we could mention it because it's a good, interesting perspective. And if you guys feel differently or you agree, I would say put it in the comments, comment on our clip. I'm sure I'll clip this out at some point. It'll be on Instagram, and we can figure it out and see what everybody has to think about it. But the kind of man that you're looking for, getting back into the topic, somebody who's confident, has integrity, emotional availability, humor, stability, and I would say this, be accepting of who she is, right? And I put in quotes, within reason. So I want to clarify that, because I know some men might jump down my throat on that one about accepting who she is. I'm not talking about bad behavior. I'm not talking about if she's going to be the girl who goes to the club all the time or wants to have a bunch of guy friends or do all these XYZ things that are not beneficial to the relationship. That's not what I'm saying when I say accept who she is. Those things she should change. I say accept who she is based on how you met her. So if she is a certain style of clothing, when she likes rock clothes, she likes this, she doesn't really dress up maybe very often. She's a little more laid back in her appearance. Don't try to change her into something she's not. And vice versa. If she's a glamorous girl and likes to get her eyelashes done and all these extra things or whatever, and wear makeup, don't try to downplay her. You're changing how you met her.
Mhm.
You want to keep the integrity of who it is that you met. And it's the same for men. So if I've heard a lot of times women try to mold their men into something else, right? Accept him for who he is, too. You know, as long as he's not doing something specifically to hurt the relationship, let that man do his thing. Don't come in and tell him his video games are stupid. Don't come in and tell him he's got to take down his posters in his house. All those crazy things that you're changing the environment of, you know, what brought you to the dance with that person and what you found attractive about him in the first place. Keeping a man comes with being curious about him. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. So I feel like things like finding out about his hobbies and things of that nature will attract the man much closer to you. He'll be far more intrigued to say, oh, wow, this girl actually cares what I have to say or what I think about or what I like. So that's a very big key component. One that I put is not playing games, like AKA playing hard to get, is the worst thing you can do as a woman. I've heard that given as advice from other women to women so many times. I'll play hard to get, girl. They like that. No, that's the worst thing. It's already a struggle to approach you, to get rejected a whole bunch of times. If you're going to play hard to get and you keep not texting back right away or disappearing for a day, we're going to think you don't care and you're like the rest of them and we're not going to talk to you anymore. So if you do like the guy, don't be surprised when he's not talking to you. You have to show interest. Be intrigued, put forth the effort. He put the effort in starting the conversation and finding you in the first place. Now you put forth the effort to start the relationship. If you actually like the guy, of course. Comments, anything?
I agree with that. I agree 100%. Most of the guys that they want to talk to anyway, they wouldn't put up with that crap. They have options. They're going to look at someone else. They're going to look at that and go, okay, on to the next. It's time to move on. She's not into me.
Yeah. Oh, even the guys that don't have options. I mean, when I was, younger in life and didn't have as many options, there was girls that I met on.
This guy's always had options.
There's been people that I've met on dating apps and things when I was younger, and you go through and they just stop responding or they take forever and this and that. And even me, I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and double text you, triple text you a bunch of times to get a response. Like, if you're not interested, you're not interested. Just say that. What are we doing? I got two more. Skip the salad. That's what I put. I don't know where women got this in their mindset that they got to be like rail thin to be attractive. We like curves. I haven't met a dude that doesn't like a little bit of curves.
It's more important to look better naked than in clothes.
I will agree with that. Yeah. I will agree with that. Curves in the right spots, of course. Right, if there's a limit to it. If you're a very big girl and you probably weigh as much as I do, then you should probably get that salad, right? But otherwise, don't worry about it so much. You don't have to be bikini body ready where you have abs. Like, we don't like that.
Adding to it, yep. I think in a general sense, women have to find a way to complement a man's lifestyle. If you like this man, you want this man to commit to you. One, it's going to take time. Okay. You have to find ways to fit into his life. Now, I know it's misogynistic to say that a woman should, cook or clean or do this.
Yeah.
If the guy's working, even if he works a 9 to 5, or let's say he's salary and he works an average of, 10 plus hour days. If he comes home and you decided to cook a meal for him or do his laundry or just clean the crib, you don't even have to do it all the time. Just do it occasionally. He will come home and be like, oh my God, I can't live without this chick. That's pretty incredible. And it's so easy. Women act like it's so degrading. It's not hard. It's so easy and simple to do something like that. It doesn't have to be that. Let's say he's like a realtor or an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Check his emails.
If he allows it.
If he allows it, right.
I agree with the making life easier thing. I think that, let's talk about this for 2 seconds here before I go into the last topic. I have noticed on other larger platforms your Fresh and Fits, your Andrew Tates, your of the world, and those type of people that have much larger audiences are speaking from a perspective of a guy who has the money to take care of a family.
Mm-hmm.
Your millionaires, etc. Right? The very wealthy few. Most people are not in that boat.
Right.
Right. So I want to make sure that we differentiate between the two, because when they're coming from this perspective of you should have the meal ready, you should do his laundry, or et cetera, right? I don't even think that's a point of contention with a couple who is both working. If you're both working equally and you're doing your thing and you're just a normal couple in America that has a 2-income household, I think the responsibilities can be shared, but not to say that doing those type of things would be a turnoff in any way. They're only turn-ons.
And I'm not necessarily speaking from
I'm just saying
guy.
For the ladies, like don't think that that's a requirement is what I'm saying.
So,
you know what I mean?
So then I guess I should clarify. I'm really just saying, I know I've named off super simple basic things that typically come from a traditional woman
Right.
in a traditional role.
Right.
Another way to put it, find a way to do something that's going to be meaningful to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get home first. He's had a hard day. You know, he's had a hard day. Turn the TV on, make sure his game's loaded up. You know, hey, you can just chill out tonight. If you need any snacks or anything, let me know.
And vice versa. I do think it's the same
But
way.
yeah, vice versa.
So
yeah.
like if the man gets home first and the woman's out an extra hour or two working still or still coming home, I think he could, maybe he's not the best cook. Like most men aren't, you know what I mean? But he can have an idea. Maybe you order some pizza for you or something. You just have a plan for dinner.
Yeah.
Hey, I got us a table at a restaurant. You know what I mean? Something, just a nice kind gesture to at least say, hey, I'm thinking about you. And I know this goes both ways.
Right. We're talking specifically about, you know.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I was going with this episode too, is just, we're going to break out of the norm. The normal advice that you hear everywhere. I'm trying to come up with new things, right? So the last one I had is initiating physical intimacy. I think I
wrote that down.
huge for women.
Yes.
Because the guy, we already know the guy wants to have sex every day, all day with you. So
most men, yeah.
Right. So let's skip past that part and don't make him feel like he's constantly pressuring you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's funny, our last episode, when we did the AI, I came to the realization that all of these AI bots that immediately jump into relationships and sexual encounters and things of that nature are programmed that way because that's what men want.
Yeah.
They want the woman to initiate intimacy. They want the woman to be a little freaky, want to get it down everywhere they go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hide behind the bush at the park. Let's, drag you to the supply closet. That's what all those AI bots do.
Mm-hmm.
It's because that's what the men want. So as a woman, understand that if you can get in touch with your sexual side just a little bit more and don't let the relationship get stale to the point where he's just pressuring you once a week to have sex and you're starting it, your relationship will work far better long term.
You really don't even have to put a lot into it or a lot of thought or effort.
Simple.
It just takes some effort. If you initiate an extra time, let's
just
say you
sit
guys
on his lap while he's watching TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simple as that. That's all you have to do. Just throw that butt on him.
Yeah.
Like, goddamn, it goes,
I hear from
women. Goes a long way.
I hear from women. I hear women complaining occasionally about how, a man isn't giving it to them enough and how like they need to feel desired. Men need to feel desired too. It's a two-way street.
It is.
And you can find ways to make it fun for you too. It doesn't,
Yep. Do you have anything else for that before we go to the next one?
Actually. Don't be too easy. That kind of leads into my second
point. Hold on. Specify. Be too easy with your original encounter with a person or while you're already dating somebody or what? What are we talking about?
Both. And I'll elaborate.
Okay.
So first off, you shouldn't be trying to meet your significant other out at a bar or anything like that anyway. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's number one. Yep. Number two, if you do encounter people in those situations, try to be more demure. Don't throw yourself on them. Don't try to kiss them. Yeah, I know, right? But it works though. It applies. I
don't know if the whole not kiss them thing.
Whenever you are in a relationship, especially the first night,
go ahead. I'm curious to hear your point.
At least don't be the one to try to initiate it, right? because it could be a situation where I don't know. I'm not going to get into that anyway. And then if you do decide to start dating this guy, and this could just be my belief, and if anyone wants to fight me over it, you can, and you'll probably disagree too.
I do already a little.
It's kind of a turnoff for me if a woman gives it up too easily, because then I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well,
yeah, I disagree with you.
how many guys
get it that easy?
Yeah.
I disagree because in theory, I understand what you're saying, right? How many guys have been able to get it that easily as I have? The different alternate perspective is when you're finding somebody that you truly match with, from both perspectives. Like the guy is like, damn, this girl, this might be the one. I really, 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 really find her attractive. And the girl says, this guy is everything that I've been looking for, physically at least. And the connection has been good for the night. You know what I mean? And you guys are talking and vibing and doing all the things, all the buzzwords that girls like to say. I don't think it's a bad thing because it initiates a connection that goes deeper than just conversation. But the follow-up is more important than the sexual encounter. Both parties, after the act is done, need to keep that same energy and be vying for the other one's attention. If one is pretending like it was just a one and done, and they don't care if the other one texts them, they don't care if the next one calls them the next day, or any of those things, that's where one loses interest, and then it becomes a one-night stand.
My rebuttal to that is,
Yes.
I agree with, I understand
like if
what
the
you're
girl was
saying.
like, hey, and just text you, I can't wait to see you again,
That's different.
you'd be like, I'm all for this.
Yeah.
She's super attractive. We had sex. It was awesome. I'm going to go see her again.
On the other hand,
Yeah.
to play devil's advocate, and that's
Okay.
kind of what I was thinking about before you got into it.
Yeah.
And you kind of just set it up for me, so that's great. What the situations turns out like that, right? Okay, well, you didn't vet the person enough. And something I'm sure we'll get into. That's another.
Well, you can never vet them enough on a first night.
I understand, but that's part of it, right? And we'll get into it more later, I'm sure, but I definitely think racking up less bodies is not only preferred, but you will have more success if you have less bodies as a woman.
As a woman, yes, 100%, 100%. You definitely have to be more selective with your partners, and that's kind of why I'm saying don't sleep with everybody just because you can, right? But I am saying if you find the one that you truly think can go somewhere, then I understand why you slept with them the first night. But if you've made that mistake 25 plus times, now you're proving that you don't know how to select your partner.
I think if you've made that mistake more than once, then you're teetering on the edge of, okay, I need to reevaluate things.
It depends how old you are. I give a pass for everybody can make that mistake probably 2 or 3 times. I could find a very attractive woman, have sex the first night, and then not know she was a crazy C word.
I understand. But
going
again,
forward.
You
know what I mean?
That goes
and
back to my argument.
Even though I thought it was going to be a relationship at some point, it doesn't mean that it ended up that way. And I think it's the same thing for women. I'm going to really try to fight for the women's rights on this episode as much as I can here.
I'm not saying you have to keep your legs closed all the time.
No.
I'm just saying especially with the way it is today, there needs to be a lot more discernment before you give it up.
Yes, I do, because there's far too many circumstances where 20-year-old girls have 20 bodies
or more.
And it's insane. So if you're that person, then you have a very poor judge of character of who you should be doing things with. And if it's not that, and you're just saying, well, I'm just young and I'm just going to have fun, and that's your mentality, then you're just not very educated on what society is going to have in store for you 15 years down the line.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? That's realistically what it is. And I've seen, in my nature of doing this line of work, I have seen older women on two sides of the coin, both in their late 30s, early 40s, speak with a 21-year-old, okay? 21-year-old speaks from a perspective where we're at. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to sleep around. I'm not going to do this. XYZ, I'm going to treat my man right. They're rare, but they exist. Both of the other women gave them two separate answers. One argued with her and told her she's out of her mind, do what you want to do, blah, 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 all this bad advice. The other one was like, that's exactly how I am now, but it took me 15 years to learn it. And I wish I knew what I know now at 21 like you do. You're so far ahead of the curve that if you can keep that same energy and that same mindset, you're going to be far happier at your age than waiting till I'm 35 and I finally figured it out. That's the kind of role model you want. If a lady gives you advice like that, then great. That's the kind of lady you want to take advice from as a woman. You have to understand being reserved. There is a level of reservation that will make you happier. There are far too many people, and if you're younger, older, whatever it is, at some point you have to be honest with yourself and say, is children and a family what I want? Not all women, but a vast majority, probably over 90%, will not be truly fulfilled unless that is the end goal, whether they know it at 21 years old or not.
To that point, I know and have seen too many women who thought they didn't want kids. I don't want kids. I don't want kids. I don't want kids. 25, don't want kids. 27, don't want kids. 29, don't want kids. 31, 32. Oh shit, I feel like I want a kid now.
I'm running out of time.
I want a kid now.
I've seen 38, 39, 40 saying, oh, I got to get it in.
So
I got to figure it out.
I think
just miserable. They have their career, they're making $150,000 a year, and they're like, "This, but my life sucks."
Yep.
And I'm alone, and I go home to my cat.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So know how to be honest with yourself in that regard. You may feel like you don't want kids right now, but how long is it going to take before you do want kids? And is it going to be too late before you realize or you decide that it's time to have kids? Right.
Which goes right into our next topic, which is being honest with yourself to procure your goals in dating. I'll go into my first thing was no matter what person you find, even with a good man, it's not going to be a bed of roses. There's always going to be struggles. There's always going to be up and downs. There's going to be arguments. Nothing is ever going to be perfect. So understanding that first, that you're not going to fall into a fairy tale and being more accepting of people's flaws is the first thing that I think you would need to know to be honest with yourself so that you can reach whatever goal you have in dating as a woman. Did you have anything to add to that one?
Well, being honest with yourself, yeah. So you have to be realistic about your standards, right?
Mm-hmm.
More specifically, there are too many women who think they are at 8s and above.
Okay.
The overwhelming majority of them are not. Most women are going to fall between a 4 and a 6, and they think that's insulting.
With being said, let's just say, to put a rating on the scale, a 5 is an average woman in America.
Yes, 5 is average, 5 is cute. 4 can be cute, right? And attractive. Oh, historically speaking, in recorded history, 80-ish plus % of women have reproduced.
Mm-hmm.
Women are, by design, beautiful.
That's true.
A 5 is not an insult. A 6 is not an insult.
No.
If everyone were 8s to 10s,
then we'd have no judge of what an 8 and 10 look like.
Exactly. If everyone's a 10, no one's a 10.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
You need to understand where you fall. You need to understand the kind of man that you can attract. If you want to attract a higher earner, if you want to attract a man who has more charisma, he checks 14 of the 15 boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand that it's going to require effort on your part and more than just, oh, well, I look good. I am the table. You and every other girl. There are so many girls. Like, that's literally one thing you are expected to bring to the table is good looks. And I mean that specifically from a point of
I'm going to get into that
reproduction.
later.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest talking points towards the end here is what your main commodity as a woman, right? And just to touch on it, obviously it is your beauty. There's a multiple billion-dollar business in cosmetics for women specifically. It's not men buying the makeup. It's not getting implants in their ass and their titties and their face and their injections and everything else that they do. It's women. It's you understand innately that your beauty is your number one commodity in life. To deny that and call it sexist or chauvinistic or any of the buzzwords that are out there to downgrade what you do as a woman is ridiculous. And even if you're the girl who says, I never wear makeup, great. You are the minority, though. You have to understand that everybody around you is. And we're talking about the majorities. We're not talking about the individuals that tried to break the mold. Kudos to you if you break the mold, but you might be what we're looking for and talking about. You know what I mean? You might be but you have to show that to the men by not falling into every category that is a detriment. And the same with us. And this is the uplifting part of the episode again, where I'm going to tell you, as a man, we have a lot of responsibilities. We need to come to the table good looking. We have to come to the table understanding what women want. We have to come to the table with a good career and job and money and a house and everything else that we have. Resources. We have to come to the table with being able to protect you. If an intruder comes into the house, is your man going to be able to have the balls or the strength enough to stand up and save the family from that? These are all things that we have to come to the table innately with to be even accepted by a woman. All we need from you is to stay in shape and be looking good.
Yeah.
And that's it.
In the majority of cases, provide children.
And be able to provide children. Correct.
Which I want to just put out there. And I've actually said this to my sister before. That is the greatest thing. And you can fight with me all you want, anyone watching. That is the greatest single thing a woman can do in her life. I agree with you. Is have children and continue a legacy. Provide the next generation to society.
I agree, and this is coming from a person who has a child. That is the greatest gift that any woman has ever given me as of right now. You know what I mean? That kid is everything. So I completely agree.
That said, like I said earlier, most women across time have reproduced. So while, yes, it is important, it is the most important thing, I would argue. And it is a very special thing. It's not unique. Every woman, almost every woman can do it.
Yeah, majority of women can do it, right? Yeah. So it's not something that you're bringing to the table specifically.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. My point here, my next one that I had is talking about how we always talk about not going to the club, not doing this, that, all these things that women do, right? I came up with an analogy today that you may have heard. I thought I was smart coming up with it, but the way that we don't want a woman to go out, girls' nights, etc., whatever it is, right, to the bar, looking cute, all dressed up, whatever it is because she is surrounded by temptation, right?
Yes.
Is the temptation that she is alluring other men and that the men are there to pick up a woman. So you're putting yourself in a environment where there is temptation. So the women can understand this, my scenario for you is if we had children and we had the choice between the 55-year-old nanny and the 21-year-old smoking nanny, would you be okay with me choosing the 21-year-old hot Stacy that's going to come and watch the kid and be alone in the house with us and I can just stare at her butt all day? Or are you going to be far more comfortable with 55-year-old grandma hanging out, abuela from our conversation last week? It's the removal of temptation. That's what that situation is. It's the same parallel. You're removing the temptation of this young woman being in the house with me alone and just the child, the same way I'm removing you from the situation of being out with a bunch of thirsty dudes. So if you can't understand that from both perspectives, then you're not trying to understand the male side of things.
I actually wanted to bring up something in that realm earlier, just didn't get a chance to.
Yeah.
To add on to that, it's not just what you wear when you go out to bars and clubs or put yourself in those situations, which, to clarify again, we're saying you shouldn't be doing those things if you're in a relationship or if you're serious about a guy.
Yeah, single do what you want to do.
Yeah. Right. At least not without him, right?
That's the key.
But the way that the way that you dress anywhere you go, I can't tell you how many women I see at the gym, and they might as well not be wearing anything at all.
Yeah,
if you're single and you want to flaunt it and get guys to look at you, that's one thing. Okay, If you're in a committed relationship, especially if your dude's not there, you shouldn't be wearing that stuff because whether you realize it or not, like we said earlier, men have so much premeditation when it comes to how to find a partner or when they're looking for a partner. I promise you, whether you think this is what you're signaling or not, 90+% of men are looking at you and either thinking you got a dude with no balls or you don't have a dude at all. Oh, she must be single. She's on the market. And then you see the dude come in with her, and I'm just like, it's not a good look. If you are in a committed relationship and you like the guy you are with, you should go out of your way to at least cover up. Dress modest enough that
we're not seeing your Gucci.
Well, not just that, but you shouldn't be in anything that the majority of people could consider revealing. That's just, I mean, if you're out with your guy and you want to wear something low cut or whatever, and he likes the way you look,
I was going to say, I don't care what she dresses like when we're together. But if you're wearing that kind of stuff without me around, there's a problem.
Exactly.
Because you're basically putting a billboard on your back saying I'm available.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I'm wearing this for me. No, you're freaking, you're not wearing it for you. No. Shut up. Get with the program. Understand how reality works.
This was supposed to be the positive episode.
Understand how reality works. This is like the one thing that irritates me so bad.
Listen, I know. I get
it. Understand. Because women defend this too all the time. I've had this conversation with my
I'm going to play
sister.
devil's advocate. Let's do this right now. Real quick. I'm going to be the woman.
Okay.
Tell me why I shouldn't wear this dress tonight.
Are we going out together or not?
No. Going out with the girls. I know you got to work in the morning. You're not coming.
Okay, so first off, where are you going?
Going to the bar down the street.
Okay. And you say you're going out with the girls. Why do you need to go to a bar wearing revealing clothing without me?
Well, two of my 4 girlfriends are single, and we're going to go out dancing and have a good time, and they're looking to talk to guys.
Okay, so let me explain to you what other men think when they see a woman in a group of girls, right, that are dressed like you are, and I'm sure your friends are dressed the same or worse. Not that you don't look good, but the way you are dressed signals that you are single, that you are inviting men to hit on you, that you are going out to a bar dressed like that without your man. You are allowing yourself to be put in a situation where temptation will be present. A guy's going to hit on you.
You're just insecure.
It's not that I'm not insecure. I'm responsible for your safety, okay? And I actually like you. I care a lot about you. And I want this relationship to work out. That means 2 things. 1, I don't want to have to deal with the falling out if the wrong man talks to you and you shoot him down. 2, what if you're drinking and one of your single friends eggs it on that a guy's trying to talk to you or whatever, and then, you
just don't trust me.
It's not that I don't trust you. I don't trust your single friends. They are single for a reason, okay? And going out with single friends makes you look single. And if you want to be in a committed relationship with me, you are not giving off the right signals.
Very well spoken, sir. Very well spoken.
I have had too much
experience. In this realm, unfortunately, it seems. All right. My last 2 points. Accountability is priceless for ladies.
Which ties back to everything we just talked about. If
you are a lady who can actually show accountability and understand when you did something wrong and admit it and learn from it and move on and tell your dude, I'm not going to do that again. Hallelujah. Well, we would praise you from the sun for that one.
And that's not saying that you have to accept responsibility or
only
take
when
blame.
You're wrong.
Yeah, only when you're wrong. And I think that comes with discernment as well, like we spoke about earlier. Yeah. Understand when you are in the wrong, and if you genuinely don't think you're in the wrong, you need to be able to articulate that properly. To your partner. And regardless if you think he's wrong or not, you need to be able to listen to him and understand what he's saying. Not just listening so you can fire back and respond or try to hit him with a low blow or... Yeah.
It goes into my last point, respecting your man.
Yeah.
I put that in caps, all caps. Respecting your man is, in my opinion, the biggest thing that leads to divorce. And I'll explain why. If your man does have enough balls and courage to tell you about something that he doesn't like, anytime a man has a conversation with a woman like that, it's because he cares. Let's start there. He absolutely cares about you and what happens, and he cares about the relationship. If he didn't, he wouldn't say anything. So let's start there with that. If he has those types of conversations with you and you refuse to listen or at least understand his point of view and come up with a solution between the two of you, then you do not respect him, which then he may stick around because he still has access to sex, right? Why would he leave free sex when he knows it's there? He may not be happy with you. The relationship may not be flourishing. You may never get the ring now, but the relationship will still be there for a time, but it will eventually degrade. It's the thing that causes men to go out and cheat because he's not being respected at home by the woman. It, in turn, may change how he treats you. You may not be getting gifts or proper treatment anymore, or open the door for you, or all these other things that we talk about anymore, which then causes you to say your man is worthless, and then you go out and cheat. Respect is literally the foundation of the relationship. If you do not respect your man, and this goes back to, if you're a lady watching this, have an honest assessment of yourself and your relationship, if you have one, and say, if my man came to me tomorrow and told me something that I did not agree with, would I listen to him or would I bite back?
And be honest.
And be honest. Just be honest with yourself. Because if the answer is no, I'd bite back, then you probably shouldn't be with that guy. You have to find a better man. You have to find, and I'm going to attack the men on this one. You need to find a man that you respect. You have to find the man that you say, oh, no, that's the guy I'm listening to, because he does everything else in my life. He's got me with money. He's got me with the house. He knows that he'll come change my tire when I get broke down. If somebody came in here with a gun tomorrow, I know he would get out of bed and beat that ass. That's the guy that I would respect, because if he's telling me something, there's probably a reason for it.
I'll take it a step further than that. If you guys do have a disagreement about something, and later something happens, you have an epiphany, there's an experience that causes you to change your mind, own up to it. Say something. Make it known that you understand where he's coming from now, and that will make him, women are always saying that men don't communicate enough, that will make him be more open to communicating with you honestly in the future. If you can acknowledge, it could be a week later, hey, something happened. It made me think about what we talked about. I didn't agree with you at the time. I now agree with you. That happened with my last long-term relationship. She would always give me crap about owning a gun. And then I kept telling her, it's going to happen. Just wait. One day it's going to happen. You're going to be glad I got it. What happened? Some dudes were trying to get into the apartment, and all she could do was, do you have your gun? Do you have your gun? Please tell me. Yes, I have it. I now know. And then after that, okay, I'm happy you have it. I understand now.
Wow. See, I've never had that happen where somebody's trying to break in, luckily, in my lifetime. But I don't know. It's definitely a scary situation when it does finally come about. I know we're running a little long here, behind schedule of what we wanted to do, because we got a lot of notes. I's got a lot of notes left. Next topic, unless you had anything to finish that one off with.
No.
Okay. Just more of the same.
Yeah.
What men love about women, and how to stay in the marriage category and not be put in like the sex only zone. So we've talked about this in the past, just to reiterate for some people who haven't watched us before. Men put women into two categories: marriage and relationships, fun only, right? We learn that pretty quickly based on the women's behavior, what we think about them. We find out anything, whether it's body counts, their past, who they've been with, how promiscuous they are, how friendly they are, how many male friends they have. There's a ton of reasons of why a man may put you in a fun only category. Our goal with this segment, at least, is to teach you how to not stay in that category and really benefit out of it. I'll just go over just the first one that I have, and then I'm going to let you jump in, because it's something we talked about already. Just initiating connection. So sitting on his lap, showing that he's not just there as your partner for bills and raising kids, right? Just showing that you care and starting that intimacy. That is a huge way to keep your man happy and out of that other category, because you're focusing specifically on him. I have two other ones, but go ahead and let me hear what you got.
Oh, you only have two?
Yeah, I don't have too many for this one.
Um,
My next one is huge. Next segment.
okay, well, I'll just say in general, it doesn't even have to be towards intimacy. Put in effort to, and that doesn't mean, oh, well, I do this, I do that, you know, I cook, I clean, whatever. Do something that's going to make him appreciate having you around, right? Like we mentioned earlier, if you know you like to play video games and you come home from a long hard day and she's like, hey, you know, your food's ready, here's some snacks, the TV's fired up or the computer's on and whatever,
Right.
you can just sit in here. If you need anything, let me know, but I'm going to let you have your time. Something simple like that. It could be, hey, I went and got groceries in your car and I got it washed. I took it through the, you know, pay $5 and take it through the little 10-minute drive through car wash. Oh my God. Do something that men don't normally have people do for them.
Speaking of that, I don't have it written down, but a lot of men, I'd say a majority, go through life without ever receiving a gift from a woman.
Gifts. It doesn't have to be anything big.
Crazy.
It could be something handmade or just a card.
Things like that go such a long way. I've heard some of the larger people that we watch talk about how they have the simple things that their girl gave them because they don't get that stuff very often. So it means a lot. Whether it's just a simple like handmade thing, he's gonna keep it. He's gonna treasure it because it's means a lot. I have some things from past relationships that I still have and linger around. Not mostly because from past memories, but because they were a gift. There's something special.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Not braiding back to them, but
I got a picture frame of a couple of dogs from a girl one time, and I was like, oh my God, this is phenomenal. Like obviously, you know me, I love my dog.
Yeah.
It's something like that. I had a girl, she couldn't sew. It wasn't anything like that. She made me a blanket. And I mean, it literally was just,
that's nice.
You cut the fabric in, like you cut slits, and then she just tied it off all the way around into little knots.
Oh wow!
And I mean, it's something like that.
Simple.
I personally don't have that blanket anymore. I think my mom still has it and uses it. And if I see that, like I think about that, like that was a cool gift.
For sure. My other points is it's pretty simple: sex, and more sex.
Yeah,
you gotta make sure that your man is pleased.
That will fix a lot of issues.
Fix a ton of issues. So the more you leave him high and dry, the more he's gonna start thinking about other things. And my final point was just be his peace. Picture what serenity looks like to you. So as a woman, if I tell you go to a serene place where it's just peace and beauty, you probably think of like a meadow with the wind blowing gently, some flowers,
or a beach,
a beautiful temperature, right? A beach, something where it's just peaceful, right? I want your man to look at you in that way. When he's around you, he is at peace. If you can be that, then you will be in the right place.
I always like to picture, not that I think I am this character or anything like that.
Yep.
But I always like to picture, there's an old, it goes around every once in a while, but it's pretty old. It's a picture of the Hulk. And then this woman hugs him and he turns back into Bruce Banner.
Ah, yeah.
You know, that kind of image is what you want. That's the kind of image that I think about when I think of Be Your Peace, you know. And for any women who don't know how the Hulk works, right? He gets angry, he turns big and green and wrecks stuff. If a dude's having a hard day, if, you know, this may sound over dramatic, but a lot of men feel like the world's against them anyway on a regular basis.
Kind of is.
We have to deal with a lot of shit from other dudes, from people in general, from our jobs. And I promise you, most dudes that have a job, even if it's a good job, they don't like it and they don't have it because they want it. We'd be fine living in a shithole apartment making $20,000 a year if we didn't need to provide a certain lifestyle, right?
Well, if you didn't have to make more money just to procreate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's realistically what it is. Like if it was just us and we were like, I'm never worried about sexual access ever again. Yeah, I'd probably be okay sitting in a single room place and just hanging out and doing my own thing. I just need a place to lay my head at night. But because I need to provide for women, children, family, the dating market, et cetera, yeah, now I need to have more excess money.
Find ways to make all of that go away whenever you're with your man, especially if he works a higher stress job. He's a higher earner.
Yeah, I'd say the higher earner, the more you should step up.
I agree. I have that written down.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably pretty important, because if the more you're going to expect from your man, the more you should provide. Let's put it that way. That's the nicest way to put it. Because if he's not being able to provide and you're having to pick up the slack, that's fine. If that relationship works, that's great. But I don't expect you as the woman to do everything then either around the house. Now, if that role dynamic changes and you're staying home with the kids more and he's out working more and he's providing more of the bills and things like that, then unfortunately more of the household responsibilities falls to you, right? And the keeping him happy part. Don't just say, oh, well, you're home now and I've been dealing with the kids all day in the laundry, so you can go whack off in the corner. Like, no, I'm still going to expect you to have your sexy time as well.
That kind of goes into something else I have written down here.
Yeah.
If you want to be a wife, if you want to become a wife, you must act like a wife. And that doesn't mean beforehand and after. So beforehand, we're talking.
I feel like it's the job application process.
Yeah. And I've heard so many women be like, well, you got to put a ring on it if you want me to act like a wife.
Exact conversation with a woman the other day.
How do you expect me to treat you like a wife if you're not going to act like a wife?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then if you want to keep a man happy after you get married, you still have to act like a wife. Look at professional sports teams. Those dudes get paid millions of dollars. Now, obviously, there's probably no monetary value tied to you being a wife or being a mother, but
depends how rich the guy is.
But there are life-changing implications for professional athletes that can't perform anymore, right? And it works the same way in a relationship. If you no longer provide the same kind of space or we'll say you put in the same kind of effort that you did that made your man want to marry you, and not saying no one's perfect, but at least a good majority of the time.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? Like, just because you got the ring doesn't mean you deserve to keep it. And I'm not saying that like men should be looking to divorce women.
No, I think men. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit because I agree with you, but I think we skipped over a talking point here, and that's men in 2025 do not value from a marriage very much.
No,
there's really nothing that we get out of it. So as much as a woman seeks to be married, the men is very happy just being in a relationship.
Yeah.
They don't. What we are looking for in a relationship or marriage is access to sex when we need it and want it, right? So we're not just lonely all the time. And then, like you said, bearing children. So if those two things are already met, just being in a relationship, we really don't have any need for the ring in the marriage. That's something that the female wants. So it's almost like on the responsibility of the women to earn that, or at least prove that they are worthy of it. And it's sad to hear that from a woman's perspective sometimes, because they should be like, I'm the prize, a man should want to marry me, right? But nothing's going to change. You have to really take a step back and come from it from a logical standpoint. And if you think I'm wrong, please tell me what changes when you get married that benefits the man. Tell me what is better for him.
Or if you think you are the prize in the relationship, articulate why you are the prize and what makes you different from other women.
That too. But I mean, realistically, if you were the woman and I was like, here's your ring. All right, let's see what changed. Does our life change in any way? We're already living together. We already got a kid. What's going to happen differently?
Not in any way that benefits us.
Nothing, right? Now, she can go show it off. She's got a fat, expensive ring on her finger to go talk to her girlfriends about. For us, what are we going to do? Nothing. Nothing changes. So there is no incentive in the modern era for men to get married. So it's still something that this is a personal opinion, and I don't know how other dating coaches feel about this. So if any others see this, I would love to get their take on it as well. But I would say, for me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it is still something in my monkey brain / growing up how I was traditionally raised to want it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be married too,
At some point, right?
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where it's like,
but I want to be married to the right one who I can trust and not think that, okay, this could end in 20 years.
right. But it's also something that I don't actively seek, and I don't care if it ever happens.
I'm in that boat as well, but I find it detrimental to have children and not be in a unified household without getting into.
But let's just say you
specifics.
were in a unified household without marriage, with no marriage.
Well, yeah,
You're in a
don't-
long-term,
right,
dedicated,
you don't
committed
have to get
relationship.
married.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
The actual act of being married, what does that do for you anymore?
honestly, really nothing, because the legal implications are the same.
Legal implications the same. Probably worse for the men, to be honest, with marriage.
Well, even if you're not married and like, let's say,
I know the common law nonsense, right? But that doesn't really
I'm not
hold up
even-
in a lot of places.
I'm not even talking about that. Let's
Okay.
just say that you have a single dwelling that you share for 10 years with a
Mhm.
woman. You have 2 kids. If she decides to leave, she can still take you to court as though you're married, even though you weren't common law married. You never signed a certificate. You guys created
because of the children.
not just because of the children, but you created, well, I guess the children
That's the key factor. If
Yeah.
you're just dated for 6, 7 years in the same house, it doesn't matter.
um,
You separate and move on.
right. But at least legally speaking, especially when there are children involved,
You got to figure it out.
I've seen a lot of women argue that even though we weren't officially married, they have created a lifestyle. They, being the man, has created a lifestyle that we're accustomed to, yada, yada, yada.
Hmm.
And they make out with assets.
Yeah, of course. Just children are involved. That's what I'm saying. Children is the key factor. The ring is not the key factor.
Right.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying,
Okay,
right?
I see what
You
you're
see
saying.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
having children changes the dynamic of the relationship. Getting married does not change the dynamic of the relationship for the man at all. Does nothing. Does nothing different. So take it for what it is. We'll jump into this last topic here because this is a long one for me. I've got a ton of points. So men and women are different. And I wanted to list the different ways. And I want to give just an example that doesn't have to do with men and women, because most of my talking points are going to be about double standards, okay? And how we're different, why there's double standards for each gender and what they are. My example is like a politician, for example, okay? He can make a law or a decree, just like the Selective Service, where a young man has to go into war at a certain age, or at least sign up for it. But he can also, by that same token, the same swipe of his pen, exclude his own children from that.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be an answer of what could be a double standard, right? It's a double standard because he can exempt his own people that he wants, but force other people in. Okay. So I think the fastest way to do this is just let me go through each point. I'll tell you what I think, what the point is, and then get your take on it, and then we'll go to the next one. And then if I missed anything, we'll see what you got at the end, because I got a juke done. Very simple. First one, crying. Crying as a man, suck it up, dude. Crying as a woman, perfectly acceptable. Get pity every time. Simple double standard that works in the woman's favor in that instance, right? We're going to go through some of these that I know when I say the word double standard, women will probably immediately say, oh, there's so many double standards. Men have it so much better, right?
That's life.
But let's talk about all the things that I listed and see which ones you fall into and how many you actually agree with. So being assertive for a man is considered a masculine trait.
Mm-hmm.
It's considered confident, dominant, right? Now, if a woman is assertive, she may be looked at in a certain way like it's a masculine trait again, but as a negative.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you being so aggressive? Calm down, get in your feminine energy kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Sons and daughters are treated different. If my son came home at 10 o'clock at night, I wouldn't be as worried as if my daughter was out till 10 o'clock at night, and I'd be, where the hell were you? What kind of shenanigans are you getting into? Because you're more protective of women, as we should be as men. We are the protectors. So as her father, by default, more protective. We know the little boy can probably handle himself more if he's a 17-year-old kid, whereas the 17-year-old girl, I'm like, what kind of crap are you getting into? You know?
I'm like that with my nieces and nephews. I'll sit there and my niece, I'll sit there and hug her and, make sure she's feeling good and this, that, and the other. My nephews start crying. Shut up, boy. Get up. Ain't nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to slap you,
And so let me preface the point of this topic and all these things that I'm about to continue reading off is not to belittle one gender or the other. It's more to have both genders understand that this is reality.
This
This is just reality, and this is how the world works, and double standards exist. So equality is not a thing. No
Not
matter
at
how
all.
much you want to pretend like equality is a thing, and if he can do it, I can do it. That doesn't exist. We are different. We're biologically different. We have different chromosomes. We're just different. It is we get different privileges, and depending on the environment that you're in, your privileges may shine more than the other,
Mhm.
right? So, first dates, by default, the man is supposed to pay for a first date, right? That is a privilege that the woman has that the men does not have. We have to, every time we go on a date, if we want to go on 3 dates that week, we have to spend money every single time for that first date. If a woman wants to go on 3 dates in a week, nothing comes out of her pocket and she got a bunch of free meals.
Oh yeah, I was say free meals.
It's rough. Dabbling more into that, free sections and drinks when you go out to the nightclubs.
It goes beyond that.
Yeah, women don't have to pay for their drinks. They don't have to pay for the alcohol. They don't have to pay for the section, that the booth that they're in, all the attention that they're going to get. Whereas men, just to get into a section is like $500, and even a cheaper club. Forget going to like a really nice one in Vegas or something along those lines. You're talking thousands and thousands of dollars just to have bottle service. Attractive men are the only ones that are allowed to flirt. If you're an ugly dude and you try to flirt, you're going to be considered creepy.
Yeah.
Or unwanted attention. Whether you're older and you're just maybe flirting with somebody younger than you, or if you're just an out of shape weird dude. The out of shape weird dudes want love too. So do the older guys. But unfortunately, because they're not attractive anymore, they're just considered creeps. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, have you seen that meme? It's like, it looks like a comic strip. It's a good looking dude comes in the door and says something abrasive to the woman, like, "Hey, nice tits," or something like that. And she's on the phone and she's just like, "Oh, Dawn, stop it."
Yeah.
And then the older, larger dude comes in and he's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you look pretty today. Excuse me, human resources."
Yeah.
It's the
It's
same
same
kinda,
thing.
yeah.
Same concept. So it's a double standard that it makes a lot of men unable to even have promising conversations with women in general. Just take, I guess, for the ladies, keep it in mind. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is something that I should just be more aware of, that not every guy's a creep just because he's not attractive. You have to kind of judge that on its own. Age itself is a double standard.
Mhm.
So as women get older, if a woman has gray hair or something, she's automatically less attractive, or probably just not even looked at. Whereas a man who gets older and has gray hair is considered like a silver fox and a handsome gentleman, especially if he's well off as far as money goes and things of that, right? Sports, just sports in general, very unfair when it comes to male and female dynamics. It's a reason that the Transformers can't play in the female sports.
We'll take it a step further. There's a reason why the WNBA is in debt.
That's it. And because we don't care.
And supplemented by the NBA.
It's
right?
because they just don't care, right? So, yeah, but just, I mean, the dynamic of competing against each other, was the Olympics or any athletic endeavor, we're just built differently.
Absolutely.
Just because you think everything is 50-50 does not make reality so.
You ever seen Fallon Daniels, Transformer fights in MMA, or used to fight in MMA?
Yeah.
Breaking chicks' faces.
Yeah, I did see those back in the day. She eventually got beat up, but
yeah, it took till they were too old.
Yeah. I brought this one up because it's in the news today. Acting choices in movies like in Snow White. Okay, I brought this up because it's all over the place. But I'll give you an example. If I needed to cast a ugly man in a movie, I would probably cast an ugly man. If I'm going to cast an ugly woman in a movie, in Snow White's case, the Wicked Witch or whatever she's called in that movie, they chose Gal Gadot, who is not an ugly woman.
She is the fairest of them all.
Has to play an ugly woman, right?
Yeah.
Or if there's a movie like, I know there was a lot back in the day, the rom-com movies where the little ugly girl becomes pretty and beautiful. The only thing they do to make the girl ugly is stick glasses on her face and do her hair in a different way.
Or like take her makeup off.
Yeah, and just, oh, now she's ugly.
Yeah.
Come on, man. She ain't ugly.
put a sweater over that crop top and then take it off.
That's one that's a double standard against women. So if you think of like the controversy in Hollywood and why Snow White's doing so bad right now for being woke, For a company that's woke, why couldn't they hire an ugly woman? You're glossing over a lot of things that would be literally considered woke agenda. You know what I mean? Like, you're not being fair. You're being discriminative towards ugly women.
Well, I mean, it's all a joke anyway. It's
That's
just a marketing
ridiculous.
ploy. They
Yeah.
don't care.
No.
The people who sit in those suits
They're
are
going to care
millionaires.
when they're not getting paid no more because the movie sucks.
Oh, well, yeah, but I mean, they're freaking millionaires. They live in the real world. They know how it goes. They're just pandering.
This is a hot topic one. Sexual abuse from teachers and the like.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? So if a young boy, 16-year-old, sleeps with his teacher, the comments are flooded with, "Where was she when I was a kid?
He's lucky.
He's a lucky guy." If it's the reverse and it's a young 16-year-old girl with an older dude, it's immediately, this guy's a piece of shit. Kill him.
He's not going to survive prison.
No, not at all. No. As somebody who used to work in the jail system, they put those guys separate for a reason.
Yeah.
They don't intermingle in general population.
It goes beyond that. Dudes can't even make certain comments
No.
without I know in the local school system, the rule is don't even, if anyone even says anything about you, if you're a male teacher, if anyone even says anything about you, you will be let go without pay, and we have to be able to prove that you didn't. Otherwise,
So guilty until proven innocent.
yes, you do not keep
Fantastic.
your job. You could do absolutely nothing. A girl can say you did something, and you're
Doomed.
doomed. Yeah.
Great. One about dad bods and body shaming that I've seen. So the way I describe this is, women have, we talked about it earlier, one primary agency, and that's their looks, right? That's what we want in a woman that we're going to court. Whereas women have a lot of stipulations and requirements that a man must have to be able to court her, right? So I think that a man that has a dad bod is more acceptable in modern society than a woman who is overweight. And I think the reason for that is because we understand, whether it's an underlying truth that nobody speaks about, that the woman's agency is her beauty. So if you're messing up the one thing that you need to control to get a successful relationship with a man that you want, you're a failure.
I would probably caveat that first part about the dad bod being acceptable. If you are tall enough, it's acceptable, right?
That's true.
And I think the double standard there is more so.
But again, it's one of those where it's like, I'm going to accept this because he has this.
Right.
There's more requirements, is what I was saying. See, they'll accept the dad bod because he's going to still provide protection. He's still going to check the height. He's still going to check the resources category.
So it's funny you brought up height, because what I was going to say is I think the double standard is more so men get judged on things that they, at least by women, that they can't control. And men are judging women more based on things that they can control.
That's absolutely correct. Like things like height or something like that is what a woman would judge them on, which a man is born with whatever he's got.
Yeah.
But a woman has the choice of being promiscuous or not, and has the choice of dieting or not, right? Unless you have a severe medical condition. But again, we're talking about
overwhelming
majorities versus minorities of people who have exceptions, right? Single dads versus single moms.
Ooh.
Very different light, right? So a single mom is looked at like she messed up. You did something wrong. You have 2 kids, and how many baby daddies, right? That's the first question people ask. Single dads are looked at in a positive light. It's good for you for sticking around. It's good for you for stepping up and raising your kid, right? And that's because of, again, this goes into the same reason racism exists. This goes into the same reason diversification and all these other things over the course of history kind of formed from. They came from a truth at some point. So if you have a stereotype, that's the best way to put it, a stereotype about a certain race, gender, creed, height, whatever it is, you've established that stereotype from some form of truth. Okay? So the one about the single dads is because dads weren't in the picture for so long. When we were growing up as kids, so many of them have walked away.
I think it's more so because the typical role of a man is not to be the nurturer, the child rearer.
That's a
It is
good point.
to protect and provide in other ways, mainly monetarily in
That's a good
today's
point.
society, right?
Yeah, that's a good point too. Whereas the single mom, I kind of agree with this, and this is the part I might have to not side with the ladies for this whole episode, is if you're a single mom, you probably didn't do your due diligence, because I do believe that it is a man's role to find, court, and get the relationship out of the woman, like get her to give you sexual access and all those kind of things. But once the relationship begins, it is the woman's job to maintain it.
I agree.
So the role dynamic shifts. So if you're doing something to the point where you're driving that guy away, again, with exceptions, domestic abuse, excessive cheating, alcohol, drug problems, right? All those things, if a man falls into those categories, absolutely, I understand why you had to leave. I get it. Without those things, if it's just a normal, healthy relationship and that guy is not that bad and you're choosing to leave, you're the problem. You chose to be with that guy. You chose to have children with that guy. You chose to marry whatever that guy. You cannot flip flop after the fact. You need to stick it out and work through it if it's not a severe problem, and figure out why it's not working. Because if that guy's not happy and he's treating you poorly, then what are you doing to not make him happy? Why is his life falling apart?
And that doesn't mean that there's no fault on the men or that men should be allowed to act that way. No. It's just that you need to be able to take personal responsibility that your discernment was off and you chose poorly.
Right. And the reason, and I would say the role reverse, let's put this in a different perspective for the ladies. If the roles of courting were reversed and men had to approach the women, or sorry, if women had to approach the men, I'm reversing them and I'm saying the same thing. If women were approaching the men and had to do all the work in the beginning because they were super horny like men are now, and they just couldn't stay away from the cack, okay? They're just ready for it at all times. Then I would also reverse the roles of the relationship. I would say if the woman put all the work into court you and get you and put in work and had to approach you and understand you and what makes you tick and face a bunch of rejections before she actually landed you, then I would say now it's up to the man to hold the relationship. Now it's up to him to make sure that the lady doesn't get bored and leave you, because she put all this work in to get you. So because it's the opposite way, women are going to think, well, I shouldn't have to. It's a 50-50. We're in a relationship now. No, he's already done his 50% of the work. Now it's your turn. You didn't do anything in the beginning. You didn't court him. You didn't approach him. He paid for your dates. He took you out.
He had to go to the gym. He had to get a good paying job.
Yeah, all those things first. And he still has an obligation to protect your ass.
Yep.
So what are you providing? You have to provide the peace and the maintaining of the relationship. That's your only role. Make sure it lasts. Do what you have to do to make it last.
I see this a lot too, and it's kind of a good segue, or not segue, but just insertion here. If women are watching this and they're with a guy and they feel like he doesn't do enough, they feel like, you're stuck doing too much housework, or he doesn't contribute to the relationship emotionally enough, or anything in that realm, think about what he is doing. Does it outweigh what he's not doing? And is that something that you should be responsible for in the relationship, at least on the majority basis, right? Which goes back to what you said.
Yeah.
He's the one who had to he's the one who had to get in shape. He's the one who had to learn how to talk to women. He's the one who
they're going to say, I had to get in shape too. I had to do this and that. I'll say some things cancel each other out. I understand. The getting in shape, I'll say cancels each other out. I'll be fair. I'll say you had to get in shape. He had to get in shape. For you to find each other attractive, you both had to be somewhat in a viable shape, right?
Yeah, but a dude who looks skinny versus a girl who looks skinny,
that's true,
is going to be completely different, right?
Well, I would also say it's not just about being skinny. Now he has to do the work to not just be skinny, but to put on all the muscle.
Well, yeah,
to be more attractive,
so there's a difference between a fit guy and a skinny guy.
Yeah, the woman could just be skinny and just doesn't have to lift a weight in her life to be attractive.
Yeah.
So there is a different level of discipline there for sure. But got a couple more. A 21-year-old girl who is a virgin is considered pure. A 21-year-old boy who is a virgin is considered a loser.
And that is because men have to, as the way Myron puts it, men have to go out and create their value. We have to generate resources. We have to educate ourselves. We have to put ourselves in positions to make money, to talk to women, to be successful with women. Okay. Women are born with their value. You are born with your beauty and your ability to have children, right?
Okay.
Which we've already established that is the two major things you bring as a woman to a relationship before anything else, right? So there's people see value in things that require effort to obtain, right?
Sure.
It's hard as anyone, not just men, but anyone, to make six figures. It's hard to be a millionaire, to have multiple properties, to be very good at talking to women. If you're in good shape, that's a lot of hard work and dedication. It doesn't just happen overnight. And it's not, it could take a year, it could take 3 years, right? And men have to do that to be able to even get attention from women, much less get them to go on dates, get sex,
I wouldn't say you have to do that to get attention, but you have to do that if you're looking for a certain caliber of woman as far as looks go. Because an average woman is going to take an average guy, whether they're super in shape or not. Then you don't have to be a big muscular abbed guy. A lot of girls will take just an average dude when it comes to that, as long as you meet the other requirements. But the thing is, there's a lot of requirements.
Well, but that's what I'm saying.
And you can't be below average in any of the requirements.
Well, yeah, you can cherry pick anything I just mentioned, but like what I'm saying is there's a lot of effort that has to go into it before you have access to the women, to beautiful women, to the women that you want to be with.
Of course.
Women, they just
and you may
up.
never have access to them, and just based on what your lottery in life was. If you're too short, if you're this, that, the other thing. There's a lot of uncontrollables.
Yeah.
By the time you generate your wealth, you're too old. Whatever it may be.
Yeah. Women, you are born with your beauty. You're born with your purity. And it's your job to maintain those two things.
I was thinking at it from a different way. And I understand that way because I've heard it countless times too. But so think of it this way. A lot of the things we talk about that we get feedback and attacked on is primarily, why does a woman's body count matter? I hear that all the time, right?
I can get into the biology side if you want.
No, but to just go to this point, if a 21-year-old man is a loser for not having sex, that means that his value's not there. No, it means yes, but it means that the standard for him to be successful is, can he have sex? So he has to actively pursue women to have sex. That is what he's going to be valued on. Now, as a woman that is 21 and pure and still a virgin, if we look at her as pure and we value her high because she's a virgin, then wouldn't it behoove you to not go around and sleep with people? It doesn't make sense. Women are backwards when it comes to that, where they're like, I'm going to go and do this, that, the other thing, and sleep with whoever and have fun and hot girl summers. And you're hurting yourself. Mm-hmm. Society is going to treat you different. There are very, 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 very few women in this world, if you ask them what their body count are going to tell you or be truthful, because they all inherently know, whether they want to accept it or not, that it matters.
And women can move the goalposts all they want and say it's not fair, it's a double standard, this, that, and the other.
That's what we're going over. These are all double standards.
One, that's literally what we're talking about. And two, it doesn't matter if it's fair or not. That's reality.
That's reality.
We are biologically inclined to look for a more chaste woman, to look for a more pure woman. Specifically in the olden days, that is the only way you could guarantee paternity.
That's true too. I didn't know if the child was mine back in the day.
Yeah.
I just had to assume that you were a trustworthy woman and figure it out, because we didn't have the modern medicine conveniences to figure it out.
In olden times, I say old, it's like medieval era-ish.
Sure. Even 100 years ago.
Yeah. So something that women started doing is, if, let's say a woman had sex with two dudes and became pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if the man she was with didn't know whether or not that was his children, apparently it was a thing. Like, the man would want to kill the children.
Yeah.
So what they would do is they would sleep with a lot of men. At that point, they'd be like, okay, let me sleep with 2 or 3 other men, because now I have 4 men who don't know whose child it is. All these men are going to protect this child because they think it could be theirs, right?
Right. Interesting. So they would use the other men as defense of the child. I get what you're saying. Just
Yeah.
in case, because if it's just two men, one's stronger than the other one, right?
Well, not only that, but now you can sit here and go, okay, it either is my kid or it isn't my kid, right?
But then you're almost owning up to a woman as a woman saying, hey, I slept around, which was definitely not
No, and I don't think it happened near as often back then as it does today.
It wasn't as congratulated. Yeah.
Yeah, but that is something that happened. They
Interesting.
would sleep with multiple men if they didn't know who the father was, so that they would all think that that child could be theirs.
Sure.
And now instead of
And they really didn't know either.
right,
There's no way the woman knew.
right, yeah,
So that's just a mess, man. Because somebody's raising that kid that's not there. That sucks.
yeah.
That's a terrible feeling.
So from a biological standpoint, being able to
Understand purity and what it is, and traditional values of
paternity specifically. Yeah, like you could guarantee paternity, and then two, and you can apply this to a more modern setting. It
Go ahead. I'm gonna skip my next point because the second one after this kind of goes into what you're talking about.
I gotcha. The second thing, in a more modern sense, it speaks to discernment. It can speak to who you are as a person. You look at a woman who, like you just talked about, she's got two baby daddies and she's a single mom raising two kids from different dads.
Yeah,
you're going to question her decision making process, right?
Absolutely. Why are these people not around? Why do you keep choosing the wrong ones? Or are you the problem, and are you ruining these relationships after they've started?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Whereas, a woman who doesn't have kids,
Yep.
is still a virgin at 21, that's seen as something fantastic because they were able to make the conscious decision based on their future.
That's what it comes down to is, do I understand that you have rational decision-making skills? Because if you do, that puts you back in the relationship marriage category, because now I know that I can trust you long-term to make good decisions always, whether it's raising the children or not.
And that doesn't mean you have to be a virgin. We're not saying that.
But I'm saying not sleeping around, that's why body count matters.
Yes.
Because you're not making good decisions.
Yes.
That's where it ultimately comes down to. If you're a person who's just sleeping around, you're not making good decisions. And that means the only person that's going to actually marry you is going to be the person you don't want. And that's the harsh reality of the whole thing, is you're not going to find a guy that you actually want. It's not going to be the caliber. You're going to settle at some point because you made poor decisions. It's the same way like if you had taken a loan from the bank. If your credit sucks, you're not going to get the loan that you want. They're going to look at you like you're crazy. Well, guess what? You slept around a bunch. You ruined your credit. Now the man that you want is not going to take you serious.
Fantastic way to put it.
That's it. Just that simple. Skipping one for right now. You might know about this because you're more religious than I am, but there's a document, the Doctrine and Covenants. It's a book in the Christian religion.
Yeah, Christian theology, yeah.
Section 132. I'm going to read this to you here. I took a picture of it so I don't mess it up. It says, "And if he have 10 virgins given unto him by this law, he cannot commit adultery, for they belong to him. But if one or either of the 10 virgins, after she is espoused, shall be with another man, she has committed adultery, and shall be destroyed according to my commandment."
Yeah, so that actually comes out of the Old Testament.
So breaking that down, if a man had 10 wives in this instance, or was given 10 women, he's not committing adultery because they're his.
Yes.
By law, property, whatever you wanted to think about. And obviously, women are not property in our modern day society, but just saying there are certain religions still, Mormon, whatever, some Muslim, that do traditionally still have multiple wives. Whereas a woman who breaks out of that bond and sleeps with a different man is considered cheating.
Yes. Provide context on the time. Obviously, it was a lot stricter of a time. Like you said, women were considered property.
Different. The reason I put it in there was more for, since the dawn of time, this has always existed, where we understand that women promiscuity is not a good thing.
Well, I was going to say the specific reason why is because that was a way that the people who led back in the day, that this was a way for them to guarantee the existence of society moving forward, or the future of society, right? Look at us now. Our birth rate is severely declining. Okay. We talked about this before. More people are single, not having kids,
Correct.
we are going to end up in a situation like Japan is, where we
Yeah.
have too many old people and not enough
Yep.
young people to support the infrastructure. And that is when society collapses.
Yep. This one's a quick one. Just texting standards. I feel like they're. I'll explain. So I can't talk today. Texting standards benefits women more. If a woman decides to wait 6 hours to text you back a day, as the man, because of your limited options, you're far more likely to entertain her still when she finally answers you, versus if you're a man and do that same behavior, she will immediately probably go start talking to the next guy and you will get ghosted. So even through simple things like messaging each other back and forth, there is a huge double standard with what women can get away with versus what men can get away with.
Go back to abuse.
Yeah.
Women hit men all the time and it's unreported.
That's true.
Women get away. We could be out
That's
in
true.
public, right? And see a woman knock the absolute shit out of a dude.
Yeah.
And if he rears back to hit her, there's probably another dude that sits there and is going to try to defend her still, right?
Yep. Got last two. In Norway, even today, which is a very egalitarian country, right? Women are still admonished more than men for cheating.
Mm-hmm.
So even in a country like that, where they promote equality, et cetera, if a woman cheats, it's far worse than a man. And then I got one statistic to close it out, which was fun that I found. So 36% of women said if they gave oral sex, it would not be considered sex. Where
Yikes.
those same women, 62% of them said that if their partner gave oral sex, it would be considered sex.
That's just illusion.
So 36 to 62, they can do it, and it's not sex. 62% said if their man does it to a woman, it is sex.
That's just illusion. For a woman to even get that far with a man, she has to be emotionally invested, right? Now,
Emotionally invested, sexually attracted.
I'm not,
something.
but she has to respect the man, right? We can hate a woman and still get it up.
Oh, yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's more justified one way or the other to cheat, but to think that it means more for a man to cheat than a woman to cheat is
in the exact same way.
Yeah, is just completely ignoring all basic biology. It's just not true.
It's just very interesting that they find loopholes like that to say, oh, I'm not cheating or I'm not having sex with them, so it's okay. And maybe not cheating, but it's classified as sex.
I would consider it cheating if a girl I was dating, we were exclusive, went to a bar and entertained another guy. That is a form of cheating.
I agree.
If you dance with another guy and his hand moves below your shoulder blades and you don't stop him, that is cheating.
Yeah. Agreed.
That is a form of cheating. Just like you don't want us on Instagram liking
big booty models.
Yeah, or like even local girls, right?
Yeah.
And telling them how pretty they are and things like that. It's the same thing. You can call it a double standard, but it goes both ways, right? There are things that we can do and can't do, and there are things that you can do and can't do. Speaking about men and women,
that's
specifically.
The world of double standards. So hopefully this episode kind of enlightens some things. I don't know what the clips are going to look like because that's all people are watching right now, but they're going to be interesting.
I can't wait.
Did you have anything else to close us off?
I have one question for you. Okay?
Go for it.
Because I hear this a lot, and I feel like I'm kind of conflicted myself on it.
Okay, let's see if this makes me cook. Let's see. Ready.
So in regards to getting into a relationship with a man, okay, do you agree with the statement, why or why not? Women have to put out unless they're a virgin. If not, and you're making him wait and work for something more than other men, do you think that's right? Yeah, do you think that's right?
Read it quicker one more time so I really understand it.
Okay, so the idea that women have to put out in a relationship and put out early unless they are a virgin, because and if they don't, why do you agree with the idea that they're making that man work for it more than the last guy that they gave it up to, or the guy they gave it up to earlier?
Okay.
I probably could ask that better. But.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to try to rephrase it so that I make sure I understand it correctly. If a girl gives it up quickly in a certain scenario, and then the next guy has to work for it and work harder for it, does that seem fair to the new guy, basically?
In the context, like, this is the guy you're with now. Yes. Yeah. In the context now that this is a guy that you see yourself with, this guy's marriage material.
Okay. Right. I see what you're saying. So you slept with the bad boy and now you're waiting with the guy you think is the nice guy.
You're making a guy wait, not necessarily as the nice guy, but the guy that checks all your boxes and you want to be in a long-term committed relationship with.
Yeah, it's a disaster.
Okay.
That's 100. That goes to what I was saying as one of my talking points earlier about not waiting for the first, whatever, if you're attracted to somebody, and also playing hard to get. Remember, I was talking about that earlier. Playing hard to get is the worst thing you can do as a woman. It's such a turnoff. Because if I think that you're not attractive or not actively pursuing me back, I'm moving on. Or you're going to get placed in the sex only category because I don't foresee a relationship with you. So either way, it's negative for you. You're either going to get used and let go, or you're just not going to get entertained. So if you actually, like I said, if you actually care about a dude, if you actually want to pursue something, if you actually think that he's worth a relationship or attractive enough to entertain for a couple more dates, then you need to put forth effort as a lady. You can't just sit back and make him wait for things. You can't, especially if you've given it out before. And the analogy that's thrown around all the time, again, I'll give you both perspectives. I'll give you the analogy and then I'll give you the rebuttal of women. The analogy is, why would a man pay full price for a used car, right? So if you're the used car because you slept with another man in the past at a very low rate, why am I going to have to sit here and wait and pay full price by putting in all this extra work to get you, right? The rebuttal that you usually get from that is, I'm not an object, right? That's always the ground one rebuttal from the women is, I'm a human and not a car. I understand. That's why analogies exist, so that you understand them from a different person's perspective. But if you're going to, I say this a lot. This is one that annoys the shit out of me. You brought this up. I'm about to cook, so we're gonna get into this. This one drives me nuts. I cannot tell you how many times I have met women over my years, and we start talking about things from the past, and they have been in threesomes, okay, and refuse to do it with the man that they're supposed to love. Bro, there's nothing that infuriates me and my little caveman brain more. And I tell you, that argument drives me crazy. So you're willing to get another girl and please a man that you don't care about at all and give him the excitement and satisfaction of a lifetime. But the guy that you actually care about and you want to marry and you want to stay with forever, fuck that guy. You don't get that same experience when you've already done it. I can understand if you never did it. You're like, I'm not getting into that wheelhouse. Yeah, cool. Understood. You've already done it, stupid. I'm not. No, that's not an answer. I refuse to take that as an answer from a woman because I don't want to mess up the relationship. I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want it to get messy. I don't want another girl with you. I'm going to get jealous.
I just struck a nerve.
Bro, hell no. That logic is flawed. It doesn't make sense. Screw you. You did that with somebody else in the past. You should bring 3 women this time. I'm the guy you want. What the hell kind of crazy shit are you on?
I understand that.
Oh my God.
I guess the moral of the story is, and the pun is kind of intended. Don't open Pandora's box.
Yes.
If you aren't willing to.
We've talked about this in a past episode. Is do not talk about the girl's past. It only brings grief to you as a man.
Well, I was talking more from a woman's perspective. Make sure you're using proper discernment. And if you're going to sleep with a man,
for the love of God, don't tell him about your sexual past.
Well, yeah, but like if you're going to sleep with a man, you need to make sure that that is a man that you can see yourself with, right? And is actually willing to commit to you.
Yeah. Can't tell you how many times that. Okay. Anyway,
that struck a nerve.
Jesus. Tell you what.
I find it ironic that this is our longest episode yet.
This is insane.
Maybe we should
make it short, and this is forever.
Maybe we should flip to coaching women.
I guess so. I think it's because we only did one episode like this, so we bundled it all together.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about in one episode. So All right, well, that's all I got. We're just at about 2 hours in here almost, so
Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you thought.
that all those
on-
things. Tell us, give us some more hate feedback, and hopefully some positive ones as well.
Please
And,
bring on the hate. I thrive off of it.
I will comment and reply to everyone. So
Love it.
I would love to see what you have to say, and if you wish to have a debate, I would like to have them on the show.
Absolutely.
To be honest, I almost thought about reaching out and saying, "Would you care to debate your point?"
Do it. I will spend $1,000 on equipment so we can have it set up. We can, we will do it right.
I have no problem discussing my point very politically and
Same.
in a calm manner with
Same.
whomever.
It'll
So if
be-
you're that kind of person that wants to at least speak your mind, not from behind a keyboard, then please, you can join us in person. You can join us through Skype or whatever video service you use. I'm ready.
Yeah. Ideally in person. It won't be in the same room. We would move to a bigger venue.
Yeah, we'll go wherever. We can meet out somewhere in public and accommodate everybody depending on where you're at. But I'm interested. I'm curious about
Let's
it.
do it.
Hell yeah. And with that, I guess we'll end here.
Gotta walk the talk and sing the rhyme. Confidence so heavy it stops time. Eyes on the prize, yeah, that's the line. Step in the room, it's my paradigm. Swipe right once, I've got the charm. Heart beats fast, creates alarm. In my zone, my calm disarms. Hand in hand, we light the stars. Speak like a boss, talk like a king. Words cut through like it's nothing. Swagger in every single thing. Crowd cheers loud, it's a winning ring. Date nights lit like city lights. VIP, we own the nights. Success in love, reach new heights. Whisper sweet and hold her tight. Confidence flows like a river wide. No need to hide, just glide and ride. Challenge me though, I've got the pride. In my world we'll all collide. Speak like a boss, talk like a king. Words cut through like it's nothing. Swagger in every single thing. Crowd cheers loud, it's a winning ring.